Chapter 378. Yun Xiang led a team of guards and rushed over. Only to see the entire female dormitory's backyard. The ground had already cracked. Especially Yi Qing Luo's dormitory, more than half of it was destroyed. There were 3 corpses lying on the ground which had turned into meat patties. At the corner of the other end, there was another corpse which could more or less be seen clearly. Looking at the outfit, it was obviously a killer without a doubt. Yun Xiang's expression congealed as he sternly ordered the guards to carry these corpses away. He was feeling vexed. Usually there weren't so many things happening in the academy. On the contrary, ever since Yun Duan came back, there were so many things which he had no way to settle. If this were to spread to Yun Duan's ears, he would definitely blame him for not knowing how to manage the academy and revoke his position as an elder. That would be terrible. Yun Xiang's heart was burning with anxiety, his sinister eyes sweeping the surroundings. Suddenly he saw Yi Qing Luo lying on the ground and the hostility in his eyes intensified. It was this new student again. Yun Xiang's eyes widened as he couldn't wait to tear Yi Qing Luo into pieces. Every single time, as long as he was related to this new student, nothing good would come out of it. From the beginning of the class allocation, he was humiliated by the 2 instructors in public. Following that, Lu Shuayu's matter caused him to lose Yun Duan's trust. Then to the heavenly training forest, according to Yi Qing Qian, that intruder was most likely Yi Qing Luo. And now, everything seemed to be related to Yi Qing Luo. Yun Xiang's eyes shot out a strong murderous intent. Yi Qing Luo, who was pretending to be unconscious, naturally felt this murderous intent as her heart trembled slightly. Her sharp ears heard Yun Xiang's footsteps, and Yi Qing Luo was thinking if she should pretend to be awake. She heard a student saying, "Elder Yun Xiang, the director sent a message to bring student Yi to the director's office for questioning." The footsteps stopped abruptly. The approaching murderous intent gradually subsided. Following that, Yi Qing Luo's collar was lifted and someone took a wooden frame and carried her to the director's office. Director's office. Yi Qing Luo laid quietly on the ground, maintaining the frequency of her breathing. Yun Xiang also followed over with an extremely ugly expression. "Director, this new student is simply a troublemaker. Ever since she came to the academy, things have been happening one after another." For a long time, he did not hear the dean's response. The entire dean's office fell into a strange silence. After saying that, Yun Xiang froze on the spot, not daring to speak again. Then, the sound of the headmaster lightly knocking on the table broke the silence. "How are the freshmen?" This deep and resounding voice was filled with a dignified dignity without being angry. He seemed to be concerned about his new body. But when this voice entered Yi Qing Luo's ears, it made her entire body turn icy cold. This voice, wasn't that the bootlicking voice she had heard on the 2nd floor of the library pavilion? She knew it. That voice sounded so familiar. She had definitely heard it before. Momentarily, Yi Qing Luo didn't even think of the director at all. But upon hearing the director's voice, Yi Qing Luo was almost certain that the person who was discussing plans with the self-proclaimed guardian in the library pavilion in the morning was the director. She was also very sure that the reason why these assassins came to find her today was definitely because of this dean. The barrier had just been broken, and even Elder Yun Xiang was present, but he could not see that she was related to this chaos. Whereas the director, who had always been indifferent to the outside world, could actually send a student to summon her to the director's office at the first instance to question her. No wonder. Heavenly Academy, which was hailed as the best academy, had several experienced killers infiltrated in. Chapter 379. She fainted, she won't die. Yun Xiang stared coldly at Yi Qing Luo. Director responded calmly. Yi Qing Luo could feel that director's gaze was fixed on her face. "Sir Director, she's merely a freshman in devil class. No matter what questions you ask her, she might not be able to answer." Yun Xiang's white brows creased as he mentioned Yi Qing Luo with ridicule. Seeing the director staring at Yi Qing Luo without letting go, Yun Xiang was really afraid that this director of the academy would be captured by Yi Qing Luo. "Sir Director, leave the killer's matter to me. I will definitely get to the bottom of this matter." Yun Xiang patted his chest to show his loyalty. Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but snigger. This matter was done by the director, and if he really got to the bottom of it, Yun Xiang might not have the life to tell the truth. Director's knocking sound stopped and he said, "You can leave first. We must get to the bottom of this matter and give an explanation to the students." Yun Xiang nodded his head in agreement. He stood up and was about to leave when he turned his head to look at the unconscious Yi Qing Luo, this freshman. Director's eyelids twitched as he lightly swept a glance at Yun Xiang. That question which he had yet to ask was held back. When Yun Xiang's feet stepped out of the director's room, Yi Qing Luo's heart tightened. Staying in the same room as the director, she would definitely be in trouble. With Yun Xiang around, it would be different. After all, Yun Xiang was the academy's elder. Even if the director wanted to silence her, he had to consider Yun Xiang's presence. From the way Yun Xiang ridiculed him earlier, he knew that the headmaster did not treat Yun Xiang as one of his own. He would definitely not reveal his secret plans to the public. Yi Qing Luo slowly opened her eyes as she screamed, "Don't come over. Don't come over." The sudden scream rang in the silent and spacious director's room. There was even a burst of echo which made it seem extremely strange. Yun Xiang stopped in his tracks as his brows creased tightly as he stared at Yi Qing Luo. He saw the young lady on the wooden frame suddenly sitting up straight as her little face was pale and filled with fear. After she opened her eyes, she saw a foreign environment. That pair of lively eyes were dazed and frightened. What is this place? Yi Qing Luo seemed to have calmed down a little as her vision slowly fixed onto the director. The dean was dressed in a greenish-gray robe. He had a black and white beard, and his sideburns were grizzled. He was quite handsome, and his eyebrows were knitted together, exuding a sense of majesty. Principal. Yi Qing Luo immediately stood up from the wooden frame, her face carrying a trace of lingering fear. "Director, the academy has been infiltrated by killers. So many assassins. Impudent." Yun Xiang saw Yi Qing Luo pouncing directly towards the director, and her pair of hands even grabbed the director's wrist, as he immediately cried out harshly. He turned around and returned to the director's office as he stretched out his hand to pull Yi Qing Luo. "You know those are killers." Director shot a cold glance at Yun Xiang and immediately turned his head, looking at Yi Qing Luo. He did not show the slightest bit of anger towards her grabbing his arm. Yi Qing Luo's eyes widened as she bit her lower lip. "They chased after me the moment they came, dressed in black and masked. What else can they be if they aren't killers? I escaped from the dormitory, only to find that there was no one outside. Those killers even chased after me." Director narrowed his eyes. "Do you know why the killers chased after you?" Yi Qing Luo's brows creased as she released the director's arm. "I'm upright, and even if I offended anyone, it's not to the extent of specially hiring killers to assassinate me." Chapter 380. Director's body suddenly stiffened as his back, which was originally leaning on the chair, also straightened up a little. That pair of emotionless eyes which concealed a murderous intent stared at Yi Qing Luo, as though waiting for her to continue her sentence. Yi Qing Luo laughed silently in her heart. To think that he had been the director for so long, yet he couldn't keep his cool at all. Yi Qing Luo's voice paused as she suddenly clapped her hands and her tone became filled with righteous indignation. "Early this morning, that eldest sister of mine found trouble with me for no reason and even crushed the mud sculpture which I had made yesterday. I didn't expect her hand to be covered in mud instead. That eldest sister of mine usually cares about her reputation, and that mud in her hand looks like a ball of hot shit. She blamed me for making her lose her reputation, so she sent someone to assassinate me." Director's brows twitched slightly. as though he had not expected Yi Qing Luo to say such a thing. He was not the least bit interested in the petty things these students did in secret. But looking at this young lady, her face was filled with anger and her teeth clenched. It didn't seem like she was lying. Ever since he became the director, no one could escape from his probing. Not to mention this 15-year-old freshman. Earlier when their eyes met, director didn't read any lies from Yi Qing Luo's eyes. Nonsense. Yun Xiang, who was standing by the side, couldn't help but opened his mouth. Student Qing Qian is kind-hearted, it's just a hand of mud, is there a need to hire a killer? Moreover, Heavenly Academy's security is tight, just based on student Qing Qian, how could she let a killer enter the academy? He naturally understood the reason why Yi Qing Qian went to the training ground to look for Yi Qing Luo. But yesterday's intruder had not been found and Yun Xiang didn't want to expose this matter to the director. That's right. Yi Qing Luo scratched her head as though she had scolded the wrong person with a guilty conscience. Then who could it be? Don't tell me those killers are our academy students. I've been in the academy for so many years and I've never seen any killer students. Yun Xiang replied without thinking, from what I see, this is simply the problem with your own style, it's too bad. One old and one young, one after the other, made the director feel gloomy. He banged the table fiercely and his dignified face instantly became more dignified. What's with all this noise? Student Yi, if you don't have any evidence, don't spout nonsense. And you, Elder Yun Xiang, as the second in command of the Elders Division, you represent the entire Elders Division. How can you argue with a new student? Yun Xiang was silent, his face ashen as he lowered his head. Yi Qing Luo gave a cold harumph as her face no longer had that blank and panicky look when she first entered the director's office. She patted her clothes and looked at Yun Xiang coldly. Student Yi, I invited you to the dean's office today because I have a few questions for you. Director narrowed his eyes as his eagle eyes stared sharply at Yi Qing Luo, devil class. Student Ye's ability shouldn't be considered especially outstanding. Yi Qing Luo nodded slightly. As of now, her ability was indeed not particularly outstanding. Then how did you escape the assassin's pursuit? How could he escape from the dormitory? If there was no one outside the dormitory, why were you safe and sound while those assassins all died a violent death? As expected of the dean, he asked one question after another, getting to the crux of the matter. Yi Qing Luo sneered in her heart. Facing a person like the headmaster, she did not know his background, nor did she know how strong he was. Moreover, Heavenly Academy was the headmaster's turf. She naturally wouldn't start a fight with the headmaster at this critical juncture. She absolutely wouldn't gain any advantage. Right now, if she wanted to survive in Heavenly Academy, the only way was to act. Chapter 381. Yi Qing Luo's expression changed slightly as she turned her head to look at Yun Xiang. Don't tell me. Wasn't it Elder Yun Xiang who sensed the fluctuation in the dormitory and specially rushed over to save me? As she spoke, she even blinked her eyes innocently, as if she had done something wrong. Yun Xiang spat out a few words in his heart. Specially rushed over to save her. Those killers wanted to kill her and he didn't specially send a knife over. It was already good enough that he didn't stab her in the back. And still saved her. However, Yi Qing Luo totally didn't understand the despise in Yun Xiang's eyes as her pink lips curled into an extremely shallow arc. Those two killers were big and burly. I ran out from the window and they were all stuck on the window, so I was able to escape. Saying that, her voice started to droop as she pursed her lips unhappily. I don't know why, but after I came out, there wasn't a single shadow on the usual crowded streets. Director muttered to himself for a moment, as though he was trying to discern whether Yi Qing Luo's words were credible or not. After some time, Director frowned. After that, there was no after that. I escaped from the dormitory and wanted to call for help from the students, but the minute I got out, two killers charged towards me. I couldn't beat them. After that, Yiqing Luo raised her hand and placed it on her forehead as her brows creased tightly. She painfully frowned. After that, I can't recall anything. I only know that when I woke up, I was already here. Didn't you see the abnormality in the sky? Yun Xiang suspiciously creased his white brows as he stared at Yiqing Luo. Earlier he was attracted by the strange lightning and thunder above the female dormitory's roof. Following that, the elder quarters sensed a strange and powerful force descending upon Heavenly Academy. Using the Heavenly Academy's profound chi to sense things, it was totally unable to sense anything. Until the Academy's sky exploded with a deafening beast roar. Following that, the magical beasts that were trapped in the training forest and those tamed magical beasts started to howl one after another. This formation seemed as though they were respecting and worshipping something. Yun Xiang immediately followed that aura and rushed over. But he only had time to see the ground full of ruins and those 4 corpses. He thought that Yiqing Luo, this lass who wasn't dead, would know what had happened. Yiqing Luo was at a loss. What abnormality? You. Yun Xiang frowned, seeing Yiqing Luo not speaking, didn't know how to continue asking. If Yiqing Luo, the person involved, didn't know what had happened, then who else would know? Who was that person with such great power? Why would he kill the killer who tried to assassinate Yiqing Luo? Why would he kill the killers who tried to assassinate Yiqing Luo? This thought caused Yun Xiang to be shocked. In his mind, he inexplicably recalled the day when Yiqing Luo first entered the Heavenly Academy, the Overlord's extravagant display of support, and intimately admitted his master-disciple relationship with her. He inexplicably recalled that Yun Duan had instructed him to take a detour if he saw Yiqing Luo. There was still that Master Zhu behind her. Yun Xiang's face instantly turned pale. Looks like student Yi fainted from the shock. The dean did not continue to pursue the matter. He placated Yi Zichen symbolically before continuing. Student Yi, think carefully. Who exactly have you offended recently? I should have offended quite a number of people. I would be the first to suspect Elder Yun Xiang. Yiqing Luo glanced coldly at Yun Xiang. Yun Xiang's face turned black as he hardened his neck and berated, nonsense. Chapter 382. Yiqing Luo nodded her head in a serious manner. That's right, if Elder Yun Xiang wanted to kill me, he would kill me personally. Yun Xiang's face turned even darker, but this time round, he had learned his lesson and didn't retort. Yiqing Luo then shifted her vision onto the director as she frowned. The academy is filled with students, even if they don't like me, but surely they wouldn't take such a huge risk to hire a killer to assassinate me, right? Pausing, Yiqing Luo pursed her lips as she asked herself uncertainly, could it be because I was punished to go to the library pavilion's 2nd story this morning? Director's brows rose silently as he shot a glance towards Elder Yun Xiang. His eyes flashed past a trace of indistinct murderous intent. Yiqing Luo pretended not to see it as she muttered to herself, I just accidentally touched his medicinal herbs and barged into his pill refining room. Is there a need to kill me? Medicinal herbs. Pill refining room. Director caught the crux of the matter. What do you mean? Yiqing Luo's face turned green. I've never been to the library pavilion's 2nd story before. Who knows that there's a strange old man's pill refining room in the library pavilion? You entered the pill refining room. Director's expression congealed slightly as that pair of eagle eyes was like a wrist, tightly clutching onto Yiqing Luo's neck. Yiqing Luo calmly met Director's eyes. I was just helping him to tidy up the medicinal herbs on the table and stepped on something, so I fell into the place where he specializes in refining pills and got caught red-handed. Director squinted his eyes, as though he was scrutinizing Yiqing Luo's words. That is the Academy's #1 pill sect alchemist's pill refining room. His title is Ghost Doctor. Director's hand, once again placed on the study table. Although he looked old, but that pair of hands under his sleeves didn't look rough at all. His index finger was slightly bent as he lightly knocked on the table, forming an unprecedented sense of oppression. The pounding sounds were like the sounds of someone demanding their lives. Yiqing Luo was suddenly enlightened, pill sect alchemist. No wonder his temper is so weird, even locking me and the medicinal cauldron together, making me memorize some medicinal pill books. Director's knocking sound suddenly stopped. You've been locked in the pill refining secret room by Ghost Doctor. The medicine refining room on the second floor was specially built by him to keep the Ghost Doctor here. He also knew about the secret room used to refine medicine. If Yiqing Luo was locked in that secret room. Yiqing Luo nodded. He kept me locked up until I finished reciting the medicinal pill books before he let me out, and even asked me to report to the pill refining room tomorrow. Half-truths and half-lies were more trustworthy. From Baiming Lulu, Yiqing Luo found out about Ghost Doctor's status in the academy. He should be similar to Guiyu, a highly respected member of the academy. First, she pretended not to know anything and said that she had been locked in the secret room. This meant that she could not have eavesdropped on the conversation between the principal and the protector, thus dispelling the principal's suspicion of her. Then, he revealed that the Ghost Doctor had thoughts of taking her in as his disciple. Moreover, when mentioning the Ghost Doctor, the director would also consider Guiyu. Because of her, old man Guiyu did not hesitate to teach in the devil class. She must have left a deep impression on the headmaster. Even if the dean was someone who would rather kill wrongly than let a single person go. Under the double hints of the secret room and the Ghost Doctor, he would temporarily spare her life. Oh. The headmaster raised his brows, revealing a trace of a smile. The Ghost Doctor has always had a bad temper. All the students who came to study were chased out of the medicine refining room by him. To think that student you would actually catch the eye of the Ghost Doctor. Chapter 383. Ha ha ha. Director laughed as he shook his head. In this academy, anyone can do it except for Ghost Doctor. He's someone who is afraid of trouble, and if he really wants to kill you, the minute he makes a move, you will have no way out. Hearing Director's laughter, Yiqing Luo knew that her plan had succeeded. Director's fingers which were placed on the table retracted. Suspecting this and that, if there's no concrete evidence, then don't make wild guesses. Yun Xiang endured for some time, but on hearing Yiqing Luo suspecting Ghost Doctor for no reason, he couldn't help but ridiculed her. Of all people to be assassinated, it just had to be this most troublesome new student. The minute Yun Xiang opened his mouth, Yiqing Luo sneered, I'm studying in the academy, so the academy should be responsible for my safety. Just like what Elder Yun Xiang said, Heavenly Academy's security is strict, but a killer has been released into the academy. If it's me today, then who will it be tomorrow? I represent the entire academy's students to request a sentence from director. Will we still be able to study peacefully in the future? As she said that, her hands were propped on the wooden table as her pair of charming eyes flashed with a cold glint. When it was time to be soft, when it was time to be hard, she wasn't careless at all. This argument based on reason made the director's gaze towards Yiqing Luo to be filled with a sense of scrutiny. He suddenly understood why his lord requested him to pay more attention to this new student. This chess piece was a double-edged sword. If it was used properly, it would be an aid to his lord's success. But if it wasn't used properly, there was a possibility that it would be the biggest obstacle. Presumptuous. Yiqing Luo, do you know who you're talking to? This is the attitude you should have when talking to director. Yun Xiang walked up directly and pressed Yiqing Luo's shoulder. Yiqing Luo didn't give him any face as she slapped him. I'm just thinking of my own safety. After all, we're not as high profound class and not as good as the students in class of gods, we can still protect ourselves. Today I'm lucky and lucky enough, but what about next time? Yun Xiang didn't expect Yiqing Luo to not give him any face in front of the director. Pa, sound was heard and coincidentally, it landed on the back of his hand. Yun Xiang was instantly infuriated as he stomped his feet in anger. You have no respect for your elders. I'll record this as a demerit. All right, all right. The dean stood up and lightly patted Yunxiang's shoulder. Student Yunxiang has suffered quite a fright today. Yunxiang, as an elder, why are you getting angry at a student? Yunxiang gritted his teeth, his white beard fluttering in the wind from his nostrils. Chapter 384. After leaving the director's office, Yiqing Luo called out to Wind in the dark, but there was no response. She wondered if Wind had been obstructed by those killers or had gone to report to DMO Xian. Yiqing Luo believed in Wind's ability, so she wasn't too worried. Her next target was to rush to Devil Class. That blue huge dragon flew high up in the sky, and when it lowered its head to look at her, that pair of blue eyes kept replaying in her mind. Eyes. Extremely beautiful azure blue eyes. Other than Long Yunjian, there was no one else. She had always had this guess in her heart. But Yiqing Luo had not expected that this guess would become true. She only wanted to find Long Yunjian and ask him clearly what was going on. But when she rushed to Devil Class and went to the class committee room, she didn't see Long Yunjian anywhere. She pulled Xiao Jin to ask, but Xiao Jin shook his head, indicating that his class monitor had always been elusive. Her heart was filled with questions, but she couldn't get any answers. Howl, howl. Suddenly, a soft howl rang beside her ear. Yiqing Luo glanced sideways and saw Chi, who had been in a deep sleep, had woken up and was scurrying on her shoulder. A tiny one, so light that it didn't have any weight at all. You know where Long Yunjian is? Yiqing Luo understood what Chi meant. Chi moaned softly and jumped down from Yiqing Luo's shoulder. Not knowing if it was her misconception, Chi's action seemed to be much more strenuous than usual. This thought had just flashed past her mind. Chi had already jumped to the front and realized that Yiqing Luo didn't follow up as it turned its head and cried out a few times. Yiqing Luo looked at Chi's lively look as she shook her head and followed up. It should be a misconception. Chi was the number one among the 4 ancient sacred beasts. Even if it contracted with her and its ability was suppressed, but its prestige as a sacred beast still existed. Even if it went out alone, it would absolutely not be at a disadvantage. Moreover, after Chi contracted with her, the pet space was equivalent to Chi's nutrient fluid. It had slept in the pet space for so long, and the energy which needed to be replenished should have been replenished. Following Chi, they stopped at the side of the path towards the academy. This was the only path in the Devil Class's courtyard that could be used. It was the road that connected the training field and the school. Both sides were covered in thick haystacks that were taller than a person. During the period when Yiqing Luo was in Devil Class, she hadn't noticed the peculiarity of this small path. Pausing for a while, just as Yiqing Luo was about to ask Chi why it stopped, Chi suddenly made a turn and burrowed into the dense haystack. The haystack rustled, and a small head popped out. Roar! Its small white head was extremely adorable in the haystack. Yiqing Luo was shocked. She had been in the academy for such a long time and she hadn't had the time to explore the Devil Class's terrain. He didn't expect that the path leading to the academy would have hidden secrets. She pushed aside the haystack and saw a hole. The hole wasn't big, but it wasn't small either. She could enter it by bending down. Chi was already waiting for her at the entrance of the cave. Yiqing Luo was puzzled as she bent down and entered the cave. The dense grass once again covered the entrance of the cave. The cave was not dark. Every 100 steps or so, there would be a luminous pearl embedded on the rock wall to illuminate. After entering the cave, she bent down and walked 100 steps deeper. The cave gradually became spacious. At least it was enough for 2 of her to stand up and walk side by side. Until Yiqing Luo walked to the deep end of the cave. When she saw the environment in front of her, her pupils suddenly widened as her face was filled with astonishment. Chapter 385. Inside this cave, there were actually two mountains. Between the mountains was a waterfall, wave after wave of water, tumbling downwards. Under the waterfall, there was a huge pool of water. By the shore, there was a wooden house. Where on earth was this place? They actually built such a place under the ground of devil class. How much effort did they spend? This mountain, this waterfall, where did it come from? Chi brought her all the way to the side of the wooden house before it stopped. He's inside. Chi moaned softly, scuttled onto Yi-Ching Luo's shoulder and licked her cheek. In a blink of an eye, the little body returned to the pet space, entering deep sleep. Yi-Ching Luo frowned, somehow feeling that Chi seemed to be hiding something from her. Why did it feel? As compared to when she first contracted it, it seemed to be even more drowsy. Sensing that the two war pets were in deep sleep in the pet space, Yi-Ching Luo didn't want to disturb them. Let's first clarify Long Yun Zhan's matters first. Yi-Ching Luo took a deep breath, raised her hand and pushed open the wooden door. With a creak, the door opened. The wooden house wasn't big, the furnishings were extremely simple. A wooden table, 2 chairs, plus a bookshelf and a wooden bed in the corner, there was nothing else. Simple. Just like Long Yun Zhan's simplicity. Yi-Ching Luo's vision was fixed on that wooden bed. Long Yun Zhan's sleeping position was very proper, lying quietly on the bed, not moving at all. Yi-Ching Luo walked to the bedside and sat down, looking at this handsome face, pale without any color of blood. His delicate brows were slightly knitted, as though there was an unresolvable melancholy. He closed his eyes. Without that pair of indifferent eyes, this face still looked extremely cold. As though the coldness was emitted from his bones, always announcing the words, "Strangers do not come near." Yi-Ching Luo stretched out her hand to touch his forehead. The temperature was very normal. Yi-Ching Luo touched his wrist and felt his pulse. This action made Yi-Ching Luo stunned. Long Yun Zhan's pulse was extremely messy. Don't think that there were no ripples on his face, but in actual fact, the profound qi in his body was already running amok. Judging from the pulse, there was another strange force that was constantly devouring the profound qi that was moving. To put it bluntly, in Long Yun Zhan's body, there were two energies, swallowing each other. In this way, the main body which bore the two energies would become the battlefield of the two energies, and the main body would suffer corresponding pain. No wonder Long Yun Zhan fell into a coma, unable to wake up. No wonder Long Yun Zhan fell into a coma, unable to wake up. The minute she thought of Long Yun Zhan transforming into a dragon and appearing in front of her in time, Yi-Ching Luo was unable to leave him alone. She held Long Yun Long's hand, and placed it on her palm. That wide, slender and long hand, as compared to Yi-Ching Luo's hand, was much bigger. Yi-Ching Luo's palms were facing each other, which made Yi-Ching Luo's hand look even more delicate. Yi-Ching Luo shut her eyes and slowly revolved her profound jade heart, transferring her own profound qi into Long Yun Zhan's body. She did not dare, she tried. Normally speaking, if one was the slightest bit careless with this method of pouring profound energy into one's body, then one would be rejected by the profounders. Just like in Long Yun Zhan's body, if Long Yun Zhan was unable to accept Yi-Ching Luo's profound qi, then the profound qi in Long Yun Zhan's body would treat the profound qi as an intruder. If it was light, it would quickly devour the invading Xian qi. In the worst case, it would be like Long Yun Zhan's current situation, where the two forces would devour each other, neither willing to admit defeat. Chapter 386. Unexpectedly, Long Yun Zhan did not reject the profound qi that she poured in at all. When Yi-Ching Luo's profound qi circulated one round around Long Yun Zhan's body, it slowly merged with his profound qi. Yi-Ching Luo was delighted, and at the same time, she injected even more profound qi. As for Long Yun Zhan's profound qi, it seemed as though it had obtained a huge boost and nourishment, as it automatically climbed onto Yiqing Luo's profound qi, as it kept on merging. With Yiqing Luo's assistance, that lump of profound qi in Long Yunjian's body became braver the more it fought, and in one fell swoop, it completely swallowed the other lump of energy which was originally on par. Soon after, the profound energy that had finished devouring his power slowly returned to Long Yunjian's profound jade heart. Yiqing Luo heaved a sigh of relief and was just about to let go. But she saw that burst of energy which was being swallowed. Before it was swallowed, it exploded into a ray of blue radiance, charging straight towards Yiqing Luo's palm. Yiqing Luo only felt a scorching heat attacking her palm as her hand was bounced off and she stood up from the force. She raised her palm in surprise, trying to see what the blue light was. However, other than the feeling of being penetrated by the blue light, there was no trace of it. Yiqing Luo's brows creased slightly. At this moment, there was no one to help her dispel her doubts, so she simply didn't think too deeply about it as she looked towards Long Yunjian. After the profound qi in his body stabilized, Long Yunjian's handsome face regained some color. His pale, thin lips revealed a faint blush. His entire body was wrapped in an extremely shallow layer of aura. That stream of air surged, flowing about from time to time, extremely restless. Upon seeing this, Yiqing Luo understood that she was about to advance. Yiqing Luo had never experienced just how strong Long Yunjian's ability was. However, when he transformed into a dragon, he directly smashed a person into a meat patty. Even if he became a human, his profound rank was definitely not low. Seeing his advancement, Yiqing Luo roughly guessed it. Most likely, the power that was fighting in Long Yunjian's body just now was the power that allowed him to transform into a dragon. As for his body, transforming into a dragon had already consumed too much energy. When he turned back into a human, he would fall into a deep sleep because he had used up too much energy. Without Long Yunjian's control, the power of the dragon started to become restless. Only then did it start to devour Long Yunjian's profound energy. When the two merged and became one, Long Yunjian would transform into a dragon, inheriting the power of a dragon. Thus, he was able to advance. Ugh! A muffled sound came from the bed. Long Yunjian drowsily opened his eyes and met with Yiqing Luo's exquisite face. He furrowed his brows, feeling as if something was surging in his body. He thought that he was hallucinating and closed his eyes in pain. Long Yunjian, are you feeling uncomfortable anywhere? Yiqing Luo saw his look and immediately stretched out her hand to caress Long Yunjian's forehead. He touched the cold sweat on his hand. Yiqing Luo immediately took out a handkerchief from the profound phoenix ring and wiped Long Yunjian's forehead. The dragon's energy has been swallowed by your profound qi's energy, it should be about to advance. Calm your heart and activate your profound jade heart. Long Yunjian opened his eyes and felt the soft touch of the woman's hand on his forehead. This was definitely not an illusion. After hearing Yiqing Luo's words, he went into a blank as his azure blue eyes evaded her gaze. You already know about it. Chapter 387. The lady's soft little hand was like silk as it brushed past the corner of his eyes. Long Yunjian's cheeks flushed red as his heart inexplicably beat extremely fast. The temperature and strength of those fingers were filled with a deep sense of tenderness. He raised his eyes and gazed at that peerless face right in front of him. Her charming eyes were filled with smiles and her pink lips were filled with a smile. Her entire face was filled with that kind of comforting smile. This time, not only was his heart beating extremely fast, even his breathing had become extremely fast. He wanted to take in deep breaths but was worried that Yiqing Luo would detect his abnormality. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as she felt Long Yunjian's temperature rising as her slender brows creased even tighter. Are you feeling uncomfortable anywhere? She twisted her handkerchief again as she wiped Long Yunjian's forehead. This time round, Long Yunjian reacted as he stretched out his hand to receive the handkerchief as he wiped his forehead. Yi-Ching Luo went into a blank as she retracted her hand. I'm fine, I'm fine. Long Yunjan's azure blue eyes flickered slightly as the hand which was holding on to the handkerchief tightened. On the handkerchief, there seemed to be a remnant fragrance from a lady's fingertips. His heart suddenly sped up as he felt a burst of intense pain. He clasped the handkerchief as he covered his chest. When you wake up, the energy which the profound jade heart had absorbed will be released and absorbed by the main body. Yi-Ching Luo leaned over as she helped Long Yunjan up. Don't think about other things for now, just focus on absorbing the energy and advancing first. Long Yunjan nodded as he sat cross-legged and started to revolve the profound qi which was stored in the profound jade heart. Yi-Ching Luo quietly got up and left the wooden house. She sized up the surrounding environment as she simply couldn't imagine that below Heavenly Academy, there was actually such a unique place built. There were mountains and rivers, trees and flowers, grass and wood, full of vitality. She walked one round around the surroundings, and by the time she returned to the wooden house was already enveloped by a ball of heaven and earth's spiritual qi. A large amount of profound qi encircled the wooden house as it flowed bit by bit. Yi-Ching Luo's expression turned joyful as she closed her eyes to sense it. When she opened her eyes again, she couldn't help but laugh out loud. No wonder Long Yunjan would build such a place below devil class. This cave contained the purest heaven and earth's spiritual qi. The particles in the air were all spiritual energy. This place was just like the space within the azure dew bracelet. It contained abundant heaven and earth spiritual energy, and was the best place to cultivate. When Yi-Ching Luo had just entered the cave, she didn't sense any peculiarities in the heaven and earth spiritual qi because she had long been accustomed to it in the azure dew bracelet. If it wasn't for the fact that the wooden house was surrounded by the heaven and earth spiritual qi, Yi-Ching Luo probably wouldn't have thought of such a deep level. If he took out his divine sense to enter the azure dew bracelet to cultivate at night, and then came here to cultivate during the day, the path of advancement was simply too easy. The balls of spiritual energy swarmed towards the wooden hut one after another. The spiritual qi that was originally absorbed would be immediately replenished by the next spiritual qi in the next second. The cycle continued for about 20 to 30 times. The wooden house suddenly emitted a strong light, and a strong wave shot out from the wooden house, stirring up a cloud of dust. At the same time, when Yi-Ching Luo sensed the advancement, her figure swiftly retreated and leapt onto a treetop, avoiding the consequence of eating a mouthful of sand. Following that, she saw a strong burst of profound qi, rushing up to the peak of the wooden house. That burst of profound qi was extremely dazzling, and Yi-Ching Luo wasn't able to discern what color of light it was. Under the cover of that light, profound qi encircled the wooden house, wave after wave of surging. After a while, the wooden door was opened. Yi-Ching Luo leapt down from the treetop, and was just about to inquire about his advancement. And as long as she opened her mouth, Dmo Xian would definitely take it off without a second word. She didn't know what Long Yunjan was shy about. As though he was shocked by Yi-Ching Luo's bold and unrestrained words, Long Yunjan's pair of azure blue eyes suddenly widened as his flush red face, without any trace of his usual aloofness. You've seen a lot, he couldn't bring himself to ask, so he kept it in his mouth and kept repeating the same word. Yi-Ching Luo simply covered his mouth. Yes, I've seen a lot. Basically, I've seen all kinds of men, even those who are ******************. Don't worry, I'm not so deranged that I can't control myself when I see your upper body naked, to the extent of pressing you down directly. A series of words were spat out from Yi-Ching Luo's mouth. Saying that, Yi-Ching Luo loosened Long Yunjan's collar and casually pushed him. Long Yunjan fell onto the bed, as he laid there in a daze, maintaining the fallen position, as he unbelievably repeated Yi-Ching Luo's words in his mind. These words, even those dissolute young masters might not be able to say it in front of others without any restraint. Chapter 389. Seen all kinds of men. You've even seen Quan. And he's crazy enough to not be able to hold himself down. Were these really the words of a woman? What? Do you still have any questions? Seeing that Long Yunjian was still in a daze and did not respond, she frowned. Long Yunjian climbed up in a daze as he stared blankly at Yiqing Luo, and after some time, he stuttered as he shook his head, no. Saying that, he subconsciously lowered his eyelids, not daring to look at Yiqing Luo's bewitching eyes. Earlier when he was in a daze, he seemed to have seen Yiqing Luo. She recognized him as the blue dragon and even guided him in his advancement. That moaning sound, as well as the warm touch on his forehead, were so real. Long Yunjian almost thought that Yiqing Luo had really come to his secret place. But when he opened his eyes, the wooden house was obviously empty, with no sign of Yiqing Luo. This was his secret place and he had never brought Yiqing Luo here before, so how could Yiqing Luo possibly appear here? Another dream. This wasn't his first time dreaming of Yiqing Luo. After meeting Yiqing Luo, he had dreamed of her twice. However, in the dream, she looked even more heroic. She held a long sword in her hand and wore a red battle robe. After his advancement, he was covered in sweat. He took off his shirt and prepared to wash it in the pool. But he had not expected Yiqing Luo to be outside. With a "pa" sound, Yiqing Luo bent her fingers and tapped lightly on Long Yunjian's head. Stop letting your imagination run wild. Since you've already advanced, tell me everything properly. Long Yunjian was in pain as he regained his senses and shot his gaze back onto Yiqing Luo's face. Recalling Yiqing Luo's earlier sentence of, not to the extent of pressing him down, his mood turned downcast. Long Yunjian frowned. Could it be that he was too hasty in his advancement this time and it affected his body? Why do I keep feeling my heartbeat speeding up and heavy from time to time? You're a dragon. Yiqing Luo searched through her mind but had never heard of a dragon that could transform into a human in the Nirvana realm. Among the beasts, dragons were the leaders of the beasts and represented an incomparably noble status. Dragons were extremely rare in the Nirvana realm. There were only 3 known dragons in the entire Nirvana realm. Even if it was Dmo Xian, he might not be able to subdue a dragon as his own war pet. Furthermore, dragons were extremely difficult to reproduce and grow. It would take at least 10,000 years to become an adult dragon, not to mention cultivating into a human form. Yes. Long Yunjian did not try to hide anything. His eyelashes fluttered. I didn't know I was a dragon before I met Chi-Chi. You don't know I'm a dragon. No wonder his expression was so strange when he was talking to Chi-Chi. Perhaps Chi-Chi had sensed the dragon aura on Long Yunjian and told him the truth. I don't know. I don't know anything about my past. Long Yunjian's eyes were filled with bewilderment, his azure blue pupils were like ripples lingering on water. Ever since I can remember, I've been in this heavenly academy, and the director sent me to the devil class. Yiqing Luo was shocked. You mean, you lost your memory? Did you lose your memory after coming to the academy? Or was it the director who sent Long Yunjian to the devil class? If Long Yunjian was a dragon in human form, then his own ability was absolutely not bad. Otherwise Long Yunjian would not have come to the devil class, and even turned these trash into geniuses. Chapter 390. He wasn't a waste, but he was sent to devil class. Especially this person was the director. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but suspect that Long Yunjian's amnesia might have something to do with the director. Other than my name, other than devil class, I don't remember anyone or anything. Long Yunjian shook his head slowly as his face revealed a painful expression. A person, without any memories of the past. Towards everything in the past, it was a blank slate. How fearful and helpless must one be in life? Yiqing Luo's brows softened a little as she sighed softly. Do you remember why you came to devil class? Because of my pair of eyes. Long Yunjian suddenly raised his eyes. His azure blue eyes were like a ravaged gem, sparkling with a clear luster. Yiqing Luo's fingertip was just about to touch it when Long Yunjian's face flushed red as he retreated backwards. You're the first person to praise my beautiful eyes. He raised his hand and touched his eyes as his lips curled into a bitter smile. Because of this pair of eyes of mine, the students all say that I'm a monster. The students from the other classes have always bullied me. So the director sent me to devil class. At this point, he chuckled again. Only this time, his smile revealed a relaxed tone. Devil class's students will not despise my eyes, nor will they treat me as a different species. So, you train these students to become strong, so that they don't need to look at other people's strange gazes? Yes and no. Long Yunjian nodded his head but immediately shook his head, the original intention of helping them. Maybe it's because these people's goodwill towards me infected me. And training them is because I want to find back my own memories. Based on one's own strength, in this unfamiliar place where he had no memories, there was no way he could survive for long. Not to mention searching for his own memories. He could only make himself stronger, to make his own team stronger. Only then would they be able to survive in this world where the strong preyed on the weak, and have the chance to find his own memories. These few years, I've been enduring silently. Until your arrival. At this point, Long Yunjian's blue eyes became misty. The moment I saw you, I had a strong premonition. Perhaps it's the sixth sense of a dragon, or perhaps it's Chi-Chi's sacred beast sense. I know that perhaps I can get the answer from you if I want to find out the truth. As expected, you have a holy beast, the white tiger of the four great holy beasts. The smile on Long Yunjian's face became a little gentler. She was used to his usual calmness and aloofness. Looking at that smile again, that warm smile, Yiqing Luo was in a daze for a moment. Chi-Chi recognized me. It smelled the scent of the dragon clan on me. As Long Yunjian spoke, his voice gradually became excited. Chi-Chi said that I'm a beast just like him. It's just that our levels are different. It is one of the high and mighty ancient sacred beasts, and I am a human dragon of the upper realm. Human dragon. Yiqing Luo's eyes widened. Human dragon. She had never heard this pronoun before. Moreover, the upper realm. What is the upper realm? Yiqing Luo didn't know much. Once, Shiju's mother had mentioned about the upper realm. That was the 3 realms above Nirvana realm. It was rumored that only those who became the strongest in Nirvana realm would be sent to the upper realm, in order to maintain the peace of Nirvana realm. To put it simply, it was to become the strongest in Nirvana realm, stepping into the sky mystic supremacy, which was the legendary level of virtuous mystic, spirit mystic. Then they would be led into the upper realm by the envoys from the upper realm. Chapter 391. So when she mentioned the upper realm, Yiqing Luo's mouth turned into an O shape. Chi-Chi said, the human dragon's position in the dragon clan is second only to one of the 4 ancient sacred beasts, Azure Dragon. Long Yunjian saw that she understood what kind of place the upper realm was and directly chose the human dragon to explain. It's already difficult for other high-leveled mirage beasts to cultivate into a human, and it's even more difficult for the dragon clan. Our human dragon clan, every dragon can transform into a human, but the price to pay is too high. Because of this, there aren't many dragons in the human dragon clan. At its most prosperous time, there were only 300 overdragons, and gradually, there were only 100 overdragons left. After that, in a great battle in the upper realm, the human dragon clan was exterminated, and I may be the human dragon who escaped from the upper realm during the battle. These were all Chi-Chi's remarks and guesses. Long Yunjian lowered his eyelids. Actually, I still can't believe it, and haven't figured out the cause and effect of this matter. Ever since he could remember, his wish was to find out his origins, to regain his memories. But now, knowing his own origins, Long Yunjian didn't feel any joy at all. He wasn't human, so he had a pair of different eyes. Moreover, the identity of a human dragon was too heavy. In the great battle in the upper realm, the human dragon clan was exterminated. Which meant that he was shouldering the blood feud of the human dragon clan. Everything that he knew was pressing on him one by one. After knowing all these, Long Yunjian wanted to tell Yiqing Luo. Because Yiqing Luo was Chi-Chi's master, she would definitely be able to give him an answer on what to do. But, every time he saw Yiqing Luo, he didn't know where to start. He wasn't human, but a dragon. This sentence, he couldn't say it out. Was he afraid that after Yiqing Luo knew all these, she would despise him for being a monster? Or was he afraid that Yiqing Luo would also use that strange gaze to look at him? Long Yunjian couldn't explain clearly what kind of feeling this was. Are you resisting your identity as a human dragon, or resisting the blood feud of the human dragon clan? The lady's clear voice, light and pleasant, spitting out every word extremely clearly. A soft little hand rested on his shoulder. Long Yunjian was stunned. The little hand on his shoulder was very warm, so warm that it seemed to seep through his clothes and heat up his skin. Long Yunjian's heart uncontrollably sped up again. This kind of inexplicable feeling made Long Yunjian feel vexed as he wanted to push Yiqing Luo's hand away, but he couldn't bear to. When he heard Yiqing Luo revealing his thoughts in one sentence, he instantly had a flustered feeling as though his inner thoughts had been seen through. This kind of panic came out of nowhere. What did he have that he was afraid of Yiqing Luo seeing through? If you reject the identity of a human dragon, you just need to live as a human. If you don't say anything, who will know? Yiqing Luo's voice was indifferent, with a calming effect. Since you've chosen to live as a human, then this blood feud has nothing to do with you, right? Yiqing Luo's tone was very serious and wasn't teasing. If others knew about Ren Long's identity, it would definitely cause a huge uproar. Heaven chose to make you lose your memory, to let you stay in the devil class, so it might be heaven's will, to let you start your life anew, as a human, live on. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a warm arc. The war in the upper realm was bound to be a huge war. Chapter 392. The path of revenge is too arduous and too dangerous. It's better to leave this life and leave you, the only human dragon bloodline. Perhaps, one day in the future, we will be able to head to the upper realm. When we have that kind of strength, if you wish, you can investigate everything about the human dragon clan and investigate your own companions. Yiqing Luo's words were very light, but it contained a lot of power. Before we have enough strength, what we need to do is to live well, and fight for more possibilities. This was also Yiqing Luo's way of survival. Losing her profound heart jade, she almost lost her life. If it wasn't for the fact that Dmo Xian gave her a profound heart jade, she would have been killed in Three Springs sect. It was impossible to say that she didn't hate the person who dug away her profound heart jade. What belonged to her, she would always get it back. But before her strength reached the level where she could get her profound heart jade back, she would not act rashly. Having lived 2 lives, Yiqing Luo knew patience the most. Live well and fight for more possibilities. If she lost her life, how could she talk about revenge? How could she talk about getting back what belonged to her? The world was big, but nothing was bigger than living well. Long Yunjian's pair of hazy eyes gradually brightened up. The azure blue waves were like circles of ripples. Thank you. Long Yunjian's eyes were filled with excitement. The thing that had been bothering him finally got the best answer. There's no need for thanks between brothers. Yiqing Luo saw that he could understand, and her eyes were filled with a warm smile. Brother, Long Yunjian's eyes flashed and his lips curled into a smile, and, brother. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. Yiqing Luo recalled that he had just advanced to the profound grade, that dazzling light. it really didn't look like an ordinary profound grade. Just now, what stage did you advance to? Earth profound 9th grade. The 4 words were like lightning striking into Yi-Ching Luo's eardrums. Yi-Ching Luo's pupils suddenly widened. What? Earth profound 9th grade. Looking at the entire Heavenly Academy, even including the masters and elders, how many people were above the Earth profound 9th grade? The human dragon was worthy of being the only human dragon comparable to an ancient sacred beast. What the hell? Transforming into a human, this strength was also unbelievably strong. It's all thanks to you. I was previously stuck at the 7th grade of the Earth profound realm, and couldn't advance no matter what. If it wasn't for you guiding the dragon's power to fuse with my profound jade heart, I wouldn't have advanced 2 levels in a row. Just as Yi-Ching Luo was filled with grief and indignation, Long Yunzhan threw another explosive strike. One must know that when Yi-Ching Luo broke through from Yellow Profound 9th grade to Mystic Profound, she had expended a huge amount of energy and now she was unable to advance to Mystic Profound 4th grade and above. Not to mention the Earth Profound realm, if they wanted to advance a grade, some people would spend hundreds of years, and still wouldn't be able to move their grade. Back then, she had thought that jumping from the Yellow Mystic 9th grade to the Mystic 4th grade was already an extremely powerful talent. He didn't expect that there would be a person in the Earth Profound realm who had consecutively advanced 2 levels. Motherf ***. She didn't want to be brothers with Human Dragon anymore, it was too oppressive. However, Long Yunzhan didn't realize how oppressive his words were. He had already stood up, and the expression on his face had reverted to his usual aloof self. This is a good place, the heaven and earth spiritual chi is abundant. If you are free, come and sit here for a while, it will also help to advance your profound grade. Sit. You must sit. Ever since she knew that this was a treasured land, Yi-Ching Luo had no intention to let go of this treasured land. Chapter 393. That very day, Yi-Ching Luo stayed overnight in the treasure land. He had completely forgotten that demon of hers would wait for her in the dormitory every night. Moreover, she hadn't even solved the problem of the dormitory being destroyed by the assassin and Long Yunzhan. The current Yi-Ching Luo was enjoying the comfortable feeling of the spiritual chi filling her limbs and bones, lingering around her profound heart jade. His main body was being nourished by the abundant spiritual energy, and his spiritual sense was being healed by the azure dew bracelet. It was very comfortable. On the 2nd day, Yi-Ching Luo felt refreshed from head to toe after a night of replenishing her chi. She stood up and swallowed another medicinal pill that the ghost doctor had given her to treat her internal injuries. Borrowing the spiritual energy of this place, she allowed the medicinal effects to fuse into her bones and blood. Bai Ming Lu mentioned that she would be able to recover by 70 to 80% before the holidays. It was only the 2nd day and Yi-Ching Luo had already recovered by 70 to 80%. Now that she didn't need painkillers, she could still maintain a normal expression on her face. If he wanted to participate in the training, it was still a little forceful. When they arrived at the freshman training ground, Yi-Ching Luo wanted to discuss with the instructors to reduce the training for today. Unexpectedly, as soon as he arrived at the training ground, before he could even speak to the instructor, he was ordered to clean up the 2nd floor of the library. They had just cleaned yesterday. What else was there to clean today? This was obviously deliberately making things difficult for Yi-Ching Luo, not allowing her to participate in the training. The freshmen looked at each other in dismay. Wasn't Yi-Ching Luo the person whom the cold-faced instructor admired the most? I heard that student Yi was assassinated by an assassin yesterday and even fainted at the scene. A sharp and mocking voice came from among the students. Shengguan Liuli covered her mouth and laughed, her eyes filled with disdain and ridicule. What capabilities did Yi-Ching Luo have? He could only act arrogantly in front of freshmen like them. Wasn't he scared out of his wits the moment he encountered a killer? If he knew that Yi-Ching Luo was so useless, he would have used some money to find a high profound class student to pretend to be a killer to scare her. The freshman naturally heard about this as well. Yesterday the female dormitory had collapsed and Yiqing Luo was carried to the director's office. This matter was too sensational, and the academy had no way of completely suppressing it. In their eyes, Yiqing Luo was the strong. Even if Yiqing Luo was allocated to the devil class, but her ability was seen by the freshmen. Unexpectedly, Yiqing Luo fainted from fright after meeting the killer. Chapter 394. Yiqing Luo suddenly realized as she thought about it carefully. It was probably when Lu Xiaoyu was agitated and grabbed her arm and touched her wound which made her unable to control herself as her expression changed slightly. She had not expected such a minute expression to be seen through by the instructor. Go to the library pavilion, Ghost Doctor is waiting for you there. When Yiqing Luo heard the two words Ghost Doctor, she went into a blank as she raised her head abruptly. Instructor knew Ghost Doctor. Wasn't it said that Ghost Doctor had a bad temper and was a lone wolf? What greeted her was Instructor Ho's stern shout, still not going to scram. This shout made Yiqing Luo's mind go blank. Instructor Ho was too immersed in his role. Yiqing Luo facepalmed. The two cold and aloof instructors actually cooperated with her to put on a show. Yiqing Luo touched her deafened ears as she nodded and bowed, with her tail between her legs, as she left the freshman training grounds. Yiqing Luo took the punishment slip and went to look for the administrator to open the second floor's door for her. The administrator yawned as he climbed up and shot a strange gaze over. She came yesterday and today she was punished to clean. He started to suspect if Yiqing Luo had used the excuse of cleaning to specially head up to the second floor to read the premium books. He even specially checked several times to see if this punishment slip was forged. But the punishment slip flickered several times on Instructor Ho's sensory stone. It was indeed the punishment order which Instructor Ho had given. The administrator had naturally heard of the legend of the cold-faced instructor and didn't dare to suspect anything as he immediately led Yiqing Luo up to the second floor. The books on the second floor were all swept clean by Qiao Jin and the others yesterday, neatly and tidily. Yiqing Luo was just putting on an act as she tidied up the books once again. It was until the administrator went down to the first floor full of suspicions when Yiqing Luo then walked towards the pill refining room vigilantly. The door of the pill refining room was half opened and not as tightly shut as yesterday. Her hand had just touched the door when her ears suddenly twitched. Her long and narrow eyes curled into a ridiculing cold arc. Her pink lips rose slightly as she hid the cold smile in her eyes as she directly pushed the door and walked in. After the door of the pill refining room was closed, a black figure appeared beside the bookshelf on the second floor. A pair of sharp eyes stared fixedly at the door of the medicine refining room. It was still early in the morning and the library was not open yet. At this moment, the entire library was silent. He could vaguely hear the sound of porcelain bottles colliding in the refinement room. In order to confirm something, the black figure moved closer to the medicine refining room. At this moment, the woman in the refining room muttered, Juku's spirit horn, Qianye Lu, Ganoderma powder. These are the ingredients to refine the Juku spirit pill. This Tianyuan grass and viridescent spirit vine are the main ingredients for refining 7-star grass. It's used to treat external injuries. Soon after, the sound of herbs being pulled could be heard. The black shadow listened for a long time, only to hear a series of names and effects of the medicines. After about the time it took for a stick of incense to burn, the black figure was worried that the ghost doctor would come and catch him red-handed, so he quietly left the second level of the library pavilion. In the medicine refinement room, the woman who was leisurely dividing the herbs and muttering non-stop suddenly stopped and stopped muttering. She put down the herbs as her long and narrow arc eyes revealed a cold glint. She knew that old fox would absolutely not believe her words so easily. If he wasn't sure if she was really hiding in the pill refining room and had been taken in as ghost doctor's disciple, the director would definitely deal with her ruthlessly once again. Luckily, she was able to enter the pill refining room and ramble on about the herbs because she had the ghost doctor's permission. Chapter 395. Continue reading. Why don't you continue reading? Suddenly, the bookshelf gave off a loud noise, and behind the bookshelf, a hole was split open. Ghost Doctor walked out from the secret room with a cold expression. Yi Ching Luo immediately stood up and greeted, "Senior Ghost Doctor, good morning. Just wanted to find a lass who knows about medicinal herbs and has some innate talent to help me tidy up this alchemy room, but I didn't expect to pick up such trouble." Ghost Doctor gave a cold harumph. Yi Ching Luo lowered her eyes as she looked down, not saying a word. She was able to discover that someone was guarding outside. For someone as powerful as Ghost Doctor, he would definitely discover that someone was spying on her. "I can't be bothered with your trivial matters, so don't drag this matter into the alchemy room. If you disturb my peace, then scram out." Yi Ching Luo had heard that Ghost Doctor was only thinking about alchemy, and what he was most afraid of was trouble. Ghost Doctor's words were very clear. Regarding yesterday's matter, he wouldn't interfere, and wouldn't bother about it. Which meant that the only person who knew that she was locked in the secret room after eavesdropping on the conversation between the director and the guardian. Ghost Doctor wouldn't divulge any information about this. She immediately nodded, "I've remembered it." Ghost Doctor walked over directly, as he took out a few pills which were glowing, and casually scattered them on the table. "Keep these pills. Have you finished reading the books which I asked you to read yesterday?" Yi Ching Luo recalled that Ghost Doctor had thrown several books to her, and later on she was being pursued, and found out that Long Yun Zhan was a human dragon, so where would she find the time to read? She pursed her pink lips, as she carefully picked up those pills, and placed them into the tidied-up porcelain bottle, as she replied, "Yesterday in the secret room, I've already finished reading those 2 books. Don't think about improving." Ghost Doctor gave a disdainful snort, as he flicked his sleeves and walked towards the secret room, sorted out the medicinal herbs in the medicine cabinet, and pasted the medicinal names on the cabinet. Saying that, he didn't look at Yi Ching Luo's expression, as he walked into the secret room. The secret room's entrance was tightly shut again. Yi Ching Luo. Did he need to be so willful? This old man was even more willful than Gue Yu. Yi Ching Luo turned her head and took a look at the right side of the pill refining room, at those 2 huge medicinal cabinets. Adding them up, there were at least 400 to 500 drawers. Instantly, the wind became chaotic. As expected, no matter where he went, he couldn't escape the fate of tidying up. Yi Ching Luo sighed softly, as she deftly packed all the pills which Ghost Doctor had thrown on the table, and placed them neatly on the medicine bottle rack. Only then did he walk to the medicine cabinet and pull open a drawer. The drawer was full of all kinds of medicinal herbs, piled up into a bowl. At a glance, there were at least 7 or 8 different kinds of medicinal herbs. Even if he was afraid of trouble, he should at least put some thought into this matter related to medicine refinement, right? If these medicinal herbs countered each other and were placed together, wouldn't it be a waste of an entire tray of medicinal herbs? Could it be that whenever the Ghost Doctor needed a medicinal herb, she would directly take it from the medicine cabinet, and if she took the wrong one, she would casually throw it into a drawer? With the Ghost Doctor's personality, it seemed like she really would do that. The 2 tables that she had tidied up yesterday were in a mess again after she came out of the secret room. She could predict that in less than 3 days, the medicinal herbs in the drawer would be the same as today after she had painstakingly sorted them out. However, even if she knew this would happen, she still had to brace herself to organize the medicinal herbs. This would also help her to further understand the medicinal effects and shapes of the medicinal herbs. Yi Ching Luo took a deep breath, as she started to organize the medicinal herbs one by one. Luckily she had read through 2 books on the foundation of medicinal pills in the secret room yesterday, and learnt the ability to differentiate medicinal herbs from 100-pill refining. Chapter 396. Yiqing Luo's hands and feet were nimble and her brain was working at full speed. With a single glance, he was able to identify the messy pile of medicinal herbs in a drawer. She sorted these medicinal herbs one by one and then opened another drawer. Yiqing Luo's thoughts were all placed on tidying up the medicine cabinet. He didn't notice that the secret room behind him was slowly opening again. The ghost doctor was standing at the door, narrowing his eyes as he watched her tidy up the medicine cabinet. His hands and feet were very nimble, his reaction was not bad, and his memory was also very good. He could accurately identify any medicinal herbs that he had seen before and accurately put the same medicinal herbs together. The ghost doctor's expressionless face softened a little, and his gaze was no longer as impatient and cold as before. His foresight wasn't too bad after all. This little girl was a promising young lady. The ghost doctor was a medicine refiner who was crazy about refining pills, and was extremely meticulous about everything related to refining pills. The reason why he accepted Yiqing Luo was because when Yiqing Luo helped him to tidy up the medicinal herbs on the table, he could tell that she had some innate talent in alchemy, which was why he was moved. He hated trouble and was too lazy to tidy up the refining room. Right now, the medicine refining room was already in a mess to the point where one could not bear to look straight at it. Coincidentally, Yiqing Luo barged in. Thus, he had the idea of finding a student who was pleasing to his eyes to help him tidy up the medicine refining room. From the looks of it, although this little girl was a little troublesome, she wasn't annoying. After tidying for about 2 hours, Yiqing Luo had just tidied up the first medicine cabinet. She rubbed her sore arms. Suddenly, a cold voice came from behind her. "All right, it's already noon. Go and eat. Don't be a hindrance here." Ghost Doctor stood expressionlessly behind her as he strode towards the table, not even taking a look at Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo nodded. She hadn't had a single drop of water for the entire morning and had spent such a long time sorting out the medicinal herbs. She was so hungry that her chest was sticking to her back. "After you're done eating, scram back here to continue tidying up." Just as Yiqing Luo walked out of the pill refining room, Ghost Doctor called out coldly from behind. Yiqing Luo responded. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that the Ghost Doctor, who had seemed so terrifying and strange yesterday, wasn't so fierce after all. He hated trouble, but he cared about her health. Although his tone was a little fierce, the meaning behind his words was that he was thinking for her sake. Leaving the medicine refinement chamber, Zhang Xian arrived at the first floor of the Compendium Pavilion, where he met a group of people walking into the Compendium Pavilion. When the two of them faced each other, they both stopped. Their leader was Shengguan Liuli. Behind him were 5 girls. They should be the students from Intermediate Profound Class 2. How unlucky. The minute Shengguan Liuli saw Yiqing Luo, her originally smiling face instantly turned gloomy. The lady beside her who was holding her arm also had a face of disgust. "Trash that was allocated to the devil class. What are you doing in the library pavilion? How many books can you read? How many words can you read?" The moment he said this, the other women around him covered their mouths and chuckled. "You don't know this, but this most outstanding student in our freshman training was ambushed by an assassin yesterday, and he fainted on the spot." Shengguan Liuli laughed coldly as she raised her voice. During today's training, the 2 instructors felt that she had lost face, so they punished her to the 2nd floor to organize the books. Naturally, the student had heard the news about the assassins. At this moment, the gazes which they shot towards Yiqing Luo were filled with ridicule and gloating over her misfortune. One must know that ever since Yiqing Luo entered the academy, she was an influential figure. The disciple whom the overlord had personally acknowledged, the mysterious and unfathomable Guiyu, the student whom everyone was fighting over, and had the guts to go against the faculty council. And so on, a series of matters. Chapter 397. However, the news of Yiqing Luo fainting from being frightened by the killers made the students not know whether to laugh or cry. Suddenly they felt that it was reasonable for the academy to arrange Yiqing Luo into the devil class. It was noon and there were quite a number of students who had just finished their lunch and came to the library pavilion to read. There was quite a lot of people. A few female students stood at the entrance and the scene of them covering their mouths and laughing attracted the attention of the other students. The students who were passing by couldn't help but cast a puzzled gaze over. Yiqing Luo was so hungry that she was lying flat on the ground. The minute she recalled that ghost doctor asked her to hurry back, she totally couldn't be bothered with Shangguan Liuli. Facing these female students' ridicule, she didn't show any expression at all. Towards those whom she didn't care about, why would she care what others thought of her? She walked past these female students and walked towards the library pavilion's main entrance. Shangguan Liuli's expression instantly sunk. At this moment, Yiqing Luo still had the cheek to put on airs in front of her. She even dared to ignore her. She listened to Shangguan Fangyi's words and had been bearing the grudge in her heart, waiting for a suitable opportunity to take revenge on Yiqing Luo. But every single time she saw Yiqing Luo, she would be inexplicably annoyed and had the thought of dismembering Yiqing Luo into 1,000 pieces. Hey! Yiqing Luo, I'm talking to you. Shangguan Liuli's expression sunk as she stretched out her arm and blocked Yiqing Luo. Previously she had suffered a loss in Yiqing Luo's hands and towards Yiqing Luo's strength, Shangguan Liuli had some restraining fear. But yesterday, Yiqing Luo fainted from being frightened by the killers, successfully made Shangguan Liuli dispel her fear towards Yiqing Luo. Waste was waste, unable to make a comeback for the rest of her life. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly as a sliver of impatience appeared in between her brows. Scram. She had just settled down for a few days and now she wanted to jump out again. Shangguan Liuli's face turned black as her eyes stared wide open, not concealing her disgust towards Yiqing Luo at all. Merely a coward, useless fellow, training together with you. I feel that you're throwing my face. She took a look at the few people beside her. Among the female students, they always liked to form cliques. Shangguan Liuli was the fifth miss of the Shangguan family, and her overall ability was very strong. Naturally they were willing to treat Shangguan Liuli as their team big sister. He listened to Shangguan Liuli's arrangements for everything. On seeing Shangguan Liuli's eye signal, a few female students surrounded Yiqing Luo. The surrounding students didn't expect that as they spoke, they would actually start fighting. Chapter 398. Shangguan Liuli was standing closest to Yiqing Luo. She was still bowing to the administrator to apologize, but Yiqing Luo actually wanted to take the opportunity to leave. How could there be such a good thing? Yiqing Luo! How dare you! Instantly, Shangguan Liuli raised her volume as she pointed towards Yiqing Luo who had already walked out of the main door. You simply have no respect for your elders. How am I being presumptuous? The one who asked me to leave is the administrator, and if I leave obediently, it would become me having no respect for my elders. Yiqing Luo gave a cold harumph as the words she said made one unable to rebuke her. You! Shangguan Liuli's finger which was pointing at Yiqing Luo froze as she was so infuriated by Yiqing Luo's words that she was unable to rebuke her. However, before Shangguan Liuli could finish her sentence, she heard the administrator's raging roar. Still quarreling? Do you believe that I will throw you out right now? His words had just ended when the administrator's robust body really bent over to carry Shangguan Liuli. Shangguan Liuli was so scared that her face turned pale as she screamed and retreated backwards. What a joke! No matter what, the administrator was a man, a robust middle-aged man. If she were to be carried by him, wouldn't her chastity be ruined for the rest of her life? Shangguan Liuli was in an extremely disheveled state as she stumbled out of the library pavilion. The other female students were afraid that the administrator would vent his anger on them as all of them kept their mouths shut as they timidly ran out of the library pavilion. Shangguan Liuli's heart was crying out in frustration. It was currently the afternoon break time and there were many students entering and exiting the library pavilion. Her current disheveled state fell into many students' eyes. She wondered how the rumors would turn out to be. The surrounding gazes were like needles as they fiercely pierced onto Shangguan Liuli. "Liuli, are you all right?" The female students surrounded Shangguan Liuli. But on seeing her pale face and a pair of venomous and sinister glint in her eyes, they all trembled. He subconsciously retracted his hand. And this tremble, this withdrawal of hand, completely agitated Shangguan Liuli. "Who do you think you are? How dare you mock me?" Shangguan Liuli didn't even think as she flung away the female student who was holding on to her and gave a tight slap on her face. That female student mysteriously suffered a slap as she fell onto the ground. Shangguan Liuli's pretty face was cold and twisted. She felt that these female classmates, who usually fawned over her, did not know how to speak up for her and did not know how to help her at a critical moment. How dare he laugh at her in his heart? That's right, ridicule. Shangguan Liuli thought that these female students were trembling because they were trying to hold back their laughter. He retracted his hand, thinking that she was embarrassed. "He's sick." Yiqing Luo cast a sidelong glance at her. In her eyes, Shangguan Liuli was a lunatic with a serious princess syndrome. Living in his own world forever, he wouldn't listen to what others said. Yiqing Luo couldn't be bothered to waste her saliva and turned around to leave. Behind her, Shangguan Liuli seemed as though she had gone mad, as she dashed in front of Yiqing Luo. Her expression was malevolent as her eyes, which made one feel chilly, stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. "Yiqing Luo, aren't you amazing? Do you dare to fight me in this year's interclass competition?" As soon as these words came out, the surrounding students exclaimed in surprise. Interclass competition. This was the regulated competition which was held once a year in the Heavenly Academy. It was also the only chance for all the students to change classes and climb to a higher class. Over the years, there were only 3 classes which took part in the interclass competition, namely low, intermediate and high. Class of God was high above and there was no room for them to rise. They had never participated in this kind of competition. Chapter 399. This kind of interclass competition was considered as a team competition. Shangguan Liuli's words were obviously representing the intermediate profound class 2 to issue a challenge to devil class. This was simply bullying intolerably. Too cunning. Shangguan Liuli knew that if she were to fight with Yiqing Luo alone, she would absolutely not be able to win. But if it was the intermediate profound class 2 against devil class, then the result would be different. Devil class was a bunch of trash and couldn't even be shown in public. Even if Yiqing Luo was supporting them alone, but after all, it was difficult to fight against 4 people. Could she go against the entire intermediate profound class 2 alone? It could be said that Shangguan Liuli had issued this challenge to Yiqing Luo in front of so many students. Although it was a little sinister, but it was the most appropriate choice. If Yiqing Luo were to reject it, in this academy, the news that she had fainted from being frightened by the killer and didn't dare to take part in the interclass competition etc., her reputation in the academy would be ruined. If Yiqing Luo agreed to it, there was no need to wait for the competition. This result was already very obvious. Devil class would lose without a doubt. By then, Shangguan Liuli would have another reason to humiliate Yiqing Luo. But Yiqing Luo, who heard Shangguan Liuli's provocation, kept silent. She narrowed her long and narrow eyes slightly, as she estimated the overall ability of devil class. This interclass competition would only be held in 8 months' time. 8 months' time. She could make use of this opportunity to let devil class wash away the name of trash that they had been crowned with. If they were able to get first place in one fell swoop and become a class that surpassed the high profound class, then devil class's hard work these few years would be repaid. She understood that devil class's students had been working hard to improve themselves, to make themselves stronger, to prove to those people that they were absolutely not trash. And the inter-class competition was the only chance for devil class's students to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat only. Yiqing Luo wasn't clear. To what extent did Long Yunjian intend to train these students to, before they could completely reveal their ability? Because of this, facing Shengguan Lu Li's challenge, Yiqing Luo was still hesitant. After all, she wasn't sure what devil class's students were thinking. She couldn't represent devil class to accept this challenge just because of her own face. Shengguan Lu Li. Do you have to be so cheap? In the crowd, a slender figure suddenly walked out. It was Lu Xiaoyu with one hand on her waist and the other pointing at Shengguan Liuli. Who do you think you are? On what basis do you represent the entire intermediate profound class 2 to issue a challenge to devil class? Do you think that the students of class 2 are as despicable, shameless, and filthy as you? Lu Xiaoyu spat out a barrage of reprimands like a cannonball. Lu Xiaoyu had just ended her training and hadn't even had the time to wash up and change into a clean set of clothes when she heard the students talking about Yiqing Luo and Shengguan Lu Li having a conflict in the library pavilion. She didn't even bother to change her clothes and directly rushed over. Coincidentally, she heard Shengguan Liuli challenging Yiqing Luo. Shengguan Liuli was scolded so harshly that her originally smug face was now flushed red. That sense of shame once again welled up in his heart. If Student Yi has no objections, I, the class monitor of Intermediate Profound Class 2, represent Intermediate Profound Class 2 to issue a challenge to Devil Class during the interclass competition. From the crowd, a tall and slender young man with regular features walked out. His eyes and brows exuded a heroic spirit. Chapter 400. Xia Class Monitor. Lu Xiaoyu stared at that young man as her bright eyes widened. Why are you following Shengguan Lu Li's blind jeering? Shengguan Lu Li's eyes lit up. On seeing that she had a backer, she immediately smiled and looked at the man beside her, Xia Class Monitor. This call was called as tender as water. Xia Yan's smile didn't diminish as he put on a serious face. This is not blind jeering. For so many years, the interclass competition has always been between the low, intermediate and high classes. Although Devil Class's students are slightly lacking in innate talent, but they are after all Heavenly Academy students. This kind of big event, Devil Class should indeed take part in it. If you take part, who knows, there might be 1 or 2 students who will be able to stand out and enter the low profound class. That would be a new start in your life. If you don't take part, then you won't even have the chance. Wouldn't you have wasted a year's time? Student Shengguan has indeed raised an interesting suggestion. If Student Yi doesn't mind, can we have a battle? Saying that, the smile on his lips added some gentleness. Looking at Yiqing Luo's eyes, it was also filled with a polite smile. Yiqing Luo frowned. This young man, as compared to Shengguan Lu Li, was even harder to deal with. Every word and sentence was actually reasonable. Yiqing Luo couldn't find any fault to refute. Originally Shengguan Lu Li's challenge, which came up with no rhyme or reason, portrayed the Intermediate Profound Class 2 as a class that bullied the weak, sinister and cunning. But Xia Yan's words pushed the Intermediate Profound Class 2 to a higher platform. This was the charm of words. It was obviously the same meaning, but when different people said it, the resulting effect was totally different. At this moment, those students who were originally ridiculing Shengguan Lu Li for bullying the weak and fearing the strong, representing the Intermediate Profound Class 2 to play Devil Class for no reason, all nodded their heads, feeling that what Xia Yan said was very reasonable. And these words also blocked Yiqing Luo's path of retreat. If she agreed, Intermediate Profound Class 2 would gain a good reputation. Even if they defeated Devil Class badly, that would also be a good reputation. If she didn't agree, there might be people who scolded Yi-Ching Luo for not knowing what's good for her. Just agree. You make it sound like the students of devil class are afraid. In the crowd, a low voice rang out. That voice was very familiar. Yi-Ching Luo raised her head and saw Qiao Jin sandwiched in the crowd, acting as one of the spectators. His appearance was unremarkable, and he deliberately restrained his aura. He did not stand out in the crowd. The minute Qiao Jin opened his mouth, the surrounding students all started to cheer, making Yi-Ching Luo agree to it. Everyone had the intention to watch the show. After all, the students of the devil class had already disappeared for a few years. The only two known students were Yi-Ching Luo and Mo Yuing. Everyone was also very curious. After so many years, just how much trash had been stored in that place that housed all the trash in the academy? Since Qiao Jin had spoken up at this moment, he must have represented the opinion of the devil class. Immediately, Yi-Ching Luo had no more worries. Her lips curled into a cold smile, her charming eyes flashed a long and narrow cold arc, slightly raised, just like what class monitor Xia said, this is an opportunity for the devil class, we cannot waste a year's time. Xia Yan laughed, student Yi is really smart. But, I have a request. Yi-Ching Luo restrained the sharp glint in her eyes, as she slowly walked towards Xia Yan. If class monitor Xia has the ability to convince the elders' quarters, then I will represent devil class to accept your challenge. What request? Xia Yan's brows rose, it was related to the elders' quarters. Chapter 401. What the? You're making it seem as though class monitor Xia Yan is begging devil class to join in. Talk about conditions. What rights does devil class have to talk about conditions? If you want to join, then join, forget it if you don't. On what basis are you talking about conditions? The surrounding students started to berate Yi-Ching Luo with righteous indignation. A waste class really treated themselves as treasure. And agreed to their conditions. Wishful thinking. What is your condition? Xia Yan asked with interest. Yi-Ching Luo narrowed her eyes as she replied calmly, devil class's freedom. Freedom. Xia Yan's brows creased in puzzlement, as though he didn't understand what Yi-Ching Luo meant. I want devil class's students to have the freedom to leave or stay. Other than the academy's restricted areas, devil class's students have the right to go anywhere in the Heavenly Academy. This request, if the elders agreed to it. During the inter-class competition, even if devil class's students performed outstandingly, the academy had no right to transfer them to other classes. Moreover, in the future, other than those restricted areas, they would be able to move freely. To announce devil class's students to the public, Yi-Ching Luo naturally had to think of a way out for them. Xia Yan muttered to himself for a moment. This request, in fact, wasn't too difficult. He could roughly guess the reason why Yi-Ching Luo raised this request. Those people in devil class were all waste, their innate talents were extremely bad and they had no actual combat experience at all. They had been hiding in the academy, like a mouse, hiding for several years, just because they were afraid of being bullied by other students. If they were to take part in the inter-class competition, these waste would definitely appear in front of everyone's eyes. If they didn't have this freedom, these students would definitely be isolated and bullied by the other class's students. He couldn't tell that this new student's thoughts were so meticulous. Xia Yan recalled his brother instructing him that he must definitely let Yi-Ching Luo and devil class take part in the inter-class competition 8 months later. He restrained the radiance in his eyes as he smiled faintly, this request, I can raise it up to the elders. The students were in an uproar. Xia Yan actually agreed to it. As for the other classes' requests, that will be up to them. Xia Yan spread out his hands, with a helpless look. Waiting for your answer. Yi-Ching Luo couldn't care less if he had any ideas or not. After throwing this sentence down, she squeezed out of the crowd and headed towards the direction of the canteen. Xia Yan didn't obstruct her as he squinted his eyes, gazing at Yiqing Luo's departing figure. A treacherous luster faintly appeared. Beside him, Shangguan Liuli looked around with her beautiful eyes, carefully grabbing Xia Yan's arm. Class monitor Xia, thank you for helping me. If it wasn't for you, I would have been humiliated by her again. However, before he could even grasp it firmly, Xia Yan had already retracted his hand. Student Shangguan, as a student of the intermediate profound class, to be humiliated by a student of the devil class, do you think you have the qualifications to look down on the devil class? Xia Yan still had a warm smile on his face, but the words that came out of his mouth were extremely ear-piercing. Shangguan Liuli was instantly stunned, and a trace of astonishment flashed past her face. Xia Yan appeared in front of everyone to help her out of trouble. Could it not be because he was helping her? Wasn't it because he was interested in her? She blinked as she stared at Xia Yan's handsome face, wondering if she had heard wrongly. But Xia Yan's deep and impolite words continued to enter her ears. If you have the time to be jealous and bully your classmates, why not raise your own ability? A vase that only looks good will be eliminated sooner or later. Chapter 402. What was Xia Yan's identity? Yiqing Luo didn't know and didn't delve into it. But she was very clear that Xia Yan had agreed to her condition, which meant that he had the confidence to make the elders' quarters and the other class monitors to agree to it. Looked like the inter-class competition 8 months later, devil class was definitely going to take part in it. She went to the cafeteria to buy some food and sat at the corner table. When the students saw her, they started pointing and gossiping. Yiqing Luo pretended not to see them as she finished her food on her own. At least his stomach was saved. She kept the cutlery and was about to get up when she saw Shangguan Fangyi walking over. That rather handsome face frowned tightly. Student Yi, do you really intend to lead devil class to take part in the inter-class competition 8 months later? Yiqing Luo's brows rose. This news spread really quickly. In just a meal's time, it had already spread to the entire courtyard. Are you crazy? What kind of place is devil class? If you lead devil class to take part, wouldn't it be pushing devil class to eternal damnation? Shangguan Fangyi's face was gloomy as he put on a concerned look towards Yiqing Luo. The inter-class competition is an extremely cruel competition. Although it won't harm the other party's life, but there's a possibility of crippling them. Xia Yan, that fox is obviously scheming against you. When he said the last sentence, he lowered his voice to a volume that only the two of them could hear. Apparently, he was afraid that the topic of him talking about Xia Yan would be spread out by others. However, while Shangguan Fangyi was worried like an ant on a hot pan, the young lady in front of him raised her slender brows as a ridiculing arc flashed past her slender eyes. So? You. Shangguan Fangyi was instantly at a loss for words. He had said so much, and this was the reaction she gave him. Could it be that she really wanted devil class to take part in the inter-class competition? It wasn't that he was afraid of devil class or afraid of Yiqing Luo. But he wanted to make use of this opportunity to show concern for Yiqing Luo. After all, Yiqing Luo's own ability was something that he understood better than Shangguan Liuli. If he was able to woo this young lady who had been raised in her boudoir, based on Yiqing Luo's relationship with so many high and mighty people, wouldn't they all become his chess pieces? But he had not expected that Yiqing Luo totally didn't fall for his tricks. Xia Yan is obviously trying to make fun of the devil class. I believe in your ability, but the other students, I'm afraid they will fall into the evil hands of the intermediate profound class. Shangguan Fangyi frowned and spoke again. This time, his concern was even more obvious. I just don't want to see you get hurt. When Yiqing Luo heard that, she couldn't help but burst out laughing. This pair of brother and sister were truly blood-related. One or two, disgusting people in such a simple way. What does it have to do with you? Yiqing Luo squinted her cold eyes as her lips curled disapprovingly. Firstly, devil class isn't led by me, but if the brothers in devil class are willing to take part, I will follow along. Secondly, before the devil class can participate, class monitor Xie must be able to fulfill the requirements that I have raised. Thirdly, since you look down on the devil class, don't show up in front of me, after all. I'm also a student of the devil class. Shengguan Fangyi kept saying that he didn't want Yiqing Luo to get hurt and so on. His words were filled with concern. But these words, weren't they looking down on devil class from the bottom of his heart? Since he looked down on them, what was the point of putting on airs in front of her? Yiqing Luo originally didn't want to waste her saliva on Shengguan Fangyi. But upon thinking that she would be harassed by others because of this matter, she might as well say everything out at once. Chapter 403. Student Yi, my kind advice is for your own good. If you insist on seeking death, then go ahead. Shengguan Fangyi had always thought of himself as a romantic and elegant man. Wherever he went, he would receive the shy glances of women. It was rare for him to get close to a woman, but he was humiliated like this. He flew into a rage out of humiliation. With an ashen face, he flicked his sleeves and left. Yiqing Luo picked up the tray and after washing the bowls and chopsticks, she placed it on the wooden rack by the side and turned around to leave. He had wasted quite a lot of time on this pair of siblings. Remembering that the ghost doctor had told him to return to the medicine refining room earlier, he quickened his pace and took a shortcut towards the library. The path from the cafeteria to the library was between the male and female dormitories. Because the dormitory management was very strict, no male students were allowed to climb over the walls of the female dormitory. This path was also blocked because many male students wanted to go to the female dormitory, but the dormitory management broke their legs, causing this path to be blocked. Yiqing Luo's figure was petite and her steps were light. Even if she was blocked, it wasn't too strenuous for her to walk. She crossed the small path and was about to take the main road to the library when a strong arm suddenly wrapped around her slender waist from behind. The elegant scent of sandalwood instantly filled her nostrils. The man's broad chest was tightly pressed against her soft back. That scorching temperature, through her clothes, seemed as though it was going to burn Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo's body stiffened as her little hand held onto the large palm on her waist. You're really heartless. You've really thrown me to the back of your mind. The man's voice resounded in her ears. His tone was filled with displeasure. Yiqing Luo's petite body trembled, hearing his grumbling words, a sense of guilt arose in her heart. Ever since she was sent to the library pavilion as a punishment and met the ghost doctor, there were too many things happening and she indeed did not have the time to care about Dmo Xian. He even stayed in Long Yunjian's spiritual energy treasure land for an entire night. Dmo Xian would come to her dormitory every night and hug her to sleep together. But yesterday, she was assassinated and her dormitory was destroyed. She broke the rules again. How anxious would Dmo Xian be when he knew that she had suffered a serious internal injury? Yiqing Luo put herself in Dmo Xian's shoes and she could empathize with that kind of anxiety. It was no wonder that Dmo Xian could not keep his composure and started to grumble at her in broad daylight. I'm sorry, Xian. Yiqing Luo turned around in Dmo Xian's arms and faced him. Two small hands circled around Dmo Xian's waist. I've made you worry. The moment she raised her eyes, she met with Dmo Xian's eyes. Those blood veins were like an enchanting blossoming flower. The peach blossoms glistened like a pool of spring water, flickering with flowing light. His obsidian black eyes reflected Yiqing Luo's countenance. His hair was slightly messy. It was obvious that he had not taken care of it for a long time. His brows were slightly furrowed, filled with deep worry. This one look made Yiqing Luo's heart thumped hard as it trembled fiercely. Her fair little hands trembled as she caressed Dmo Xian's face. His smooth chin already had some stubble, which was slightly prickly to the touch. His peerless face still had his usual devilish charm, but it was hard to hide his haggardness. Especially since his skin was too fair, the green shadow at the corner of his eyes was even more obvious. Now that you know you're sorry, will you still dare to mess around like this in future? Dmo Xian held Yiqing Luo's hand. His tone was like a child's grumbling, but his eyes were filled with joy from seeing Yiqing Luo safe and sound. Yiqing Luo shook her head as she rubbed her face against his chest. Her cheeks were burning hot and her ears were filled with an extremely rhythmic heartbeat, which made her feel indescribably at ease. Chapter 404. How dare he? To make the high and mighty Di Zun worry about him like this. He felt sorry for her and she also felt sorry for him. Last night, you didn't sleep at all. Yiqing Luo's voice was gentle, revealing a tinge of heartache. Dmo Xian lowered his head slightly as he placed his chin on her neck, sniffing the lady's fragrance. That restless heart in his heart slowly calmed down. His girl had met with the killers yesterday. At that critical moment, he could only stand at the top of the tall building and watch. He wanted to show himself to save Yiqing Luo, to become her strongest support when she was in danger. But he couldn't. He loved Yiqing Luo, but at the same time, he was the Imperial Palace's palace lord, shouldering the Imperial Palace's mission. If he were to show himself now, it would definitely attract the Academy's attention. All of his plans would fail. Hence, he attracted Long Yunzhan. But he had not expected that after Qi exhausted the sacred beast's energy to allow Long Yunzhan to transform into a dragon, in order to charge into the array barrier, it forced out the dragon's energy. It could be seen that in Long Yunzhan's heart, Yiqing Luo had already occupied a very important position. But it was because of yesterday's killer incident which made Dmo Xian even more determined to let Yiqing Luo grow up on her own. He finally understood why Yiqing Luo wanted to walk side by side with him, and not let him protect her under her wings. Because Yiqing Luo wasn't willing to be his burden. She wanted to be his assistant, an assistant who could help him. His identity meant that he had too much helplessness. He had no way to stay by Yiqing Luo's side all the time. And his identity also meant that the people around him would meet with many unknown dangers because of him. He was actually very clear that if Long Yunzhan wasn't able to transform into a dragon and kill those killers easily, he would absolutely take the risk of being discovered to save Yiqing Luo. The degree of care he had for Yiqing Luo had exceeded his imagination. Dmo Xian concealed the deep meaning in his eyes as his arms tightened. Promise me, don't let yourself be in a dangerous situation in future. Yiqing Luo smiled as the smile on her lips deepened. I will protect myself well. She told Dmo Xian about how she met the ghost doctor in the library pavilion, then being chased by assassins and finally meeting the blue dragon. The Academy has arranged a new dormitory for us. I reckon that we'll only be able to move in after we return to the Academy during the holidays. Tonight, I'll stay in the spiritual Qi treasure land to cultivate. I reckon that when I wake up tomorrow, my internal injuries should be completely healed. Yiqing Luo explained where she went last night. Find a place and have a good rest for 2 days. We'll meet again when we return to Three Springs sect. Chasing me away just like that. Dmo Xian rubbed his head against her neck. That scorching breath blew on her earlobe from time to time. Yiqing Luo endured the numbing feeling as her little hand clutched the robes around his waist tightly. Ah Xian, I can't bear to part with you, but what I should do now is to work hard to raise my own strength. I don't want you to worry about me. Silly girl. Dmo Xian sighed softly as his palm covered Yiqing Luo's head, pulling the both of them apart. He lowered his eyes and stared into the woman's enchanting eyes as he gently kissed her on the lips. No matter how powerful you become, I will always worry about you. How could he not be worried? But no matter how worried he was, Dmo Xian couldn't do something like intentionally distancing himself from her just to prevent her from getting hurt. He couldn't bear to, and he couldn't do it. This sweet kiss was gentle and lingering, deeply hooking Yiqing Luo. Chapter 405. By the time Yiqing Luo returned to the pill refining room, it was already 2 hours later. The ghost doctor's originally dark and gloomy face was now even darker. A pair of cold eyes stared straight at Yiqing Luo. You took so long just to have a meal. Something happened and delayed me. Yiqing Luo lowered her head as she gave a low laugh. Ghost doctor gave a cold harumph as his face turned gloomy, troublesome. Yiqing Luo gave a few dry laughs. Ghost doctor saw her look and couldn't be bothered to scold her as he flicked his sleeves and entered the pill refining secret room again. Following that, Yiqing Luo automatically started to tidy up the other medicine cabinet. With the experience of tidying up in the morning, the second medicine cabinet was much easier to tidy up. After she had tidied up the medicinal herbs and names in the 2 medicine cabinets, these medicinal herbs' shapes and effects were all recorded in Yiqing Luo's mind. Yiqing Luo dusted her hands as she scanned the medicine cabinet from top to bottom to ensure that she didn't miss out on any drawer. She turned back and tidied up the 2 messy wooden tables. Ghost doctor didn't return. Yiqing Luo surveyed the surroundings, and on seeing the messy bookshelves, she automatically tidied up the bookshelves. She remembered that the last time she bumped into this place, she accidentally opened the pill refining secret room. This time she paid attention and carefully avoided the mechanism. These books which Ghost Doctor had stored were all related to pill refining. There were records of various medicinal herbs' geographical locations, and there were records and legends regarding the origins of the medicinal herbs. As she continued to tidy up, there were quite a number of rare medicinal pill formulas. Yiqing Luo flipped through it and even saw a few familiar formulas. These were the formulas which she had seen from the 100-pill refining book. The 100-pill refining book was something which old man Tsang had hidden for a very, very long time. Even if it wasn't a few thousand years old, it would at least be a few hundred years old. If this were to be leaked out, it would definitely cause a bloodbath. There were quite a number of formulas in these books which belonged to Ghost Doctor. It showed how rare and precious these books were. Yiqing Luo tidied up as she flipped through these books. If there was something which she was interested in, she would spend more time and effort to memorize it all. Time passed slowly, one breath at a time. Yiqing Luo had already tidied up to the last shelf. Just as he was about to move a stool to step on it, he heard a few ladies ridiculing laughter coming from outside the pill refining room. Didn't they say that Yiqing Luo had been punished to the 2nd story to clean up? Why don't I see him? Could it be that he secretly ran away? If you run, you'll be going against the instructor's orders. Let's split up and look for him. If we can't find him, we'll inform Instructor He and Instructor Chu. Soon after, the sound of several footsteps could be heard walking back and forth. The soundproofing of the medicine refining room had been designed to allow the Ghost Doctor to refine medicine in peace. Moreover, the Ghost Doctor had been afraid of trouble, and because of that, it had been designed very well. By right, under the circumstances of the pill refining room being sealed, Yiqing Luo shouldn't be able to hear the discussions outside. It was just that. Yiqing Luo didn't know what was going on. Ever since she came out from the profound Qi treasure land this morning, her perception and acuity seemed to have increased by quite a bit. Separated by the thick walls, the footsteps and discussions of the students outside could be heard clearly in his ears. Obviously, these people were here to see her make a fool of herself. Yiqing Luo was a little speechless. Was she really so hated? It was just a punishment of cleaning the library pavilion. In the afternoon, Shengguan Liuli had chided her, and now she had to be chided by others. Chapter 406. Yiqing Luo put down the book in her hands and silently walked to the side of the door as she opened a small gap. She saw a few female students walking around outside the library pavilion, pushing open one reading room after another as they searched for Yiqing Luo. They didn't dare to call out loudly, afraid that the administrator would be called over. All of them called out Yiqing Luo's name softly. Yiqing Luo's brows twitched. Why did she have a feeling of soul calling? It looked like if these people didn't find her, they probably wouldn't let this matter rest. Damn it! They were all people who had too much time on their hands. They didn't want to improve themselves, but her time was very precious. Suppressing the raging primitive energy in her heart, Yiqing Luo shut her eyes as she silently recited the incantation and her figure suddenly swayed. In a blink of an eye, she disappeared from the pill refining room. The entrance of the pill refining secret passage split open and Ghost Doctor walked out with a gloomy face. Before he could open his mouth to berate Yiqing Luo for creating trouble again, he saw Yiqing Luo's figure, as though it had blended into the air, disappearing without a trace. Little by little, a trace of astonishment appeared on his wrinkled face. He immediately congealed his senses, sensing Yiqing Luo's position. In the reading room not too far away, he sensed Yiqing Luo's weak presence and the astonishment in his eyes grew by several degrees. In an instant, she silently shifted her position. Wasn't this the legendary secret method? This freshman, how was she able to display such a secret method? In the reading room, Yiqing Luo pretended to clean up as she patted the books on the bookshelf, arranging them properly one by one. Suddenly, the reading room's door was opened by someone. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes, recognizing her at one glance. High Profound Classes student, Yan Xiaoyi's half-sister with extremely high innate talent, Yan Zhenfei. She's here. Yiqing Luo is here. The minute Yan Zhenfei saw Yiqing Luo, she immediately stuck her head out and shouted. A few hurried footsteps were heard. 3 female students blocked the reading room's door. This lineup. Yiqing Luo put down the book in her hands, turned around and smiled. I know you all worship me and are so agitated to see me. Are you all here to ask for my autograph? Bah! Yan Zhenfei spat and turned to hug the arm of the female student behind her. Sister Xuelan, look at her. She's been punished for 2 days in a row. Her reputation is ruined, but she still doesn't know it. Lu Xuelan's beautiful eyes squinted slightly, her expression was filled with pride as she examined Yiqing Luo. It was undeniable that Yiqing Luo's looks were too stunning. Coupled with her extremely lazy attitude, as if she didn't care about anything, it added a bit of charm to her. Moreover, the temperament that she exuded was so unruly and unrestrained, yet at ease and at ease. Indeed, she had the capital to make people unable to shift their gazes away from her. Lu Xuelan hated Yiqing Luo's beauty, but at the same time, Yiqing Luo's existence was beneficial to her. No one was willing to be born under someone else. It was the same for her. In terms of appearance, talent, and profound rank, she was no worse than Lu Shuiyu. Just because Lu Shuiyu was born a year earlier than her, she had to become Lu Shuiyu's foil. Why? Usually, she and Lu Shuiyu had a deep sisterly relationship, running errands for Lu Shuiyu everywhere. Lu Xuelan had enough of these things. Hoping and waiting, finally Yiqing Luo's appearance. She didn't like Yiqing Luo, but as the saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. If she was able to rope in Yiqing Luo and completely make Lu Shuiyu step down, then the position of vice president would be hers. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.